Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Camouflage of the World, the series where we take a look at many camouflage patterns from countries all around the world for basic recognition purposes, a brief history lesson, and just to form a general appreciation of different countries' takes on camouflage patterns for many different environments and seasons. So I am Mike B, and today we'll be taking a look at the Austrian TAZ 57 or K4 or P-dot camouflage, whichever one floats your boat. There was never really an official designation that was consistently used from what I see. So any one of those besides the P-dot, which is more of a colloquial term in English-speaking countries, either TAZ 59 or K4 would be more along the lines of what would be considered an official designation, but who knows, that's also open for interpretation. So this was introduced, as you can probably tell by the name, in 1957. Tarnanzug means camouflage suit or uniform, and 57 is the year it was introduced. So this right away you can tell that it was influenced, not copied, it was influenced by the World War II German SS .44 pattern. This was not made using original German drawings, however, it was just influenced. It's like a lot of the other original woodland patterns like CCE or something in the Balkans that was influenced by M81 woodland, but still it's its own design, although it bears some resemblance. That's the same thing here. So obviously you can see right away that there are many dots. It uses that whole concept instead of large splotches. Now there are little clusters you can see in here, and it features several different colors. We've got dark maroon, kind of a mauve color, and pea green, and we've also got gray dots in this one on this kind of pinkish salmon colored background. Now, this is a pretty unique pattern because there's really nothing else like it. It's like basically .44 and the frog skin camo, the World War II U.S. Marine Corps, had a baby, because you can see there's little clusters of color. And when we get up to, we'll go take a closer look in a second. I just kind of want to give you a brief rundown. You can see that there's little clusters of different colored dots as well as single dots that are kind of sporadically spread throughout the pattern, and they're autonomous. So it's a very interesting take on this pattern. That's why it's not really the same as .44 or anything else that I'm aware of. So there were two variations that were made of this pattern. This is the first pattern, the original pattern, because of the clusters and the color scheme that this thing has. Now they started coming out with a different, what was called the second pattern, which I don't have an example of yet. I will make a separate video if that happens or when it happens. But this is going to be the first sort of pattern that was introduced and adopted. Now this was made from between 1957 and, depending on who you ask, 61 to 66. Somewhere in there, the pattern changed over almost completely to the second pattern and was used made until 1976. So these were worn until the 70s or the 80s when the Bundesheer went to olive drab. But these can be seen being worn sporadically, helmet covers, stuff like that, just random pieces of equipment that were kept and used until the 90s even. I've seen some pictures of that. But anyway, so yeah, this is going to be the first pattern, and we'll go take a closer look really quick, and then we'll kind of wrap the video up. So as we get up a little bit closer, you can see this is made of kind of a heavy cotton duck. It looks like HBT at first, but it's really not. It's a weird weave. I don't exactly know, but it feels like it's 100% cotton. It's kind of tacky like that. Anyway, so we'll really get into this. You see these pattern. The colors are a lot brighter up close. They look a little bit more faded and muted at a distance, but now you can see. Now here's one of those clusters I was talking about where you see, well, there's a couple of them right here. There's three clusters. So we've got this one, we've got that one, and we've got that one up there, and then there's a couple semi-clusters like this, and then you've just got the rogue dots like that appear to be part of a cluster, but they're kind of standing on their own. Like right here, although that gray dot right there is part of the cluster, it's still kind of acting on its own in the pattern, which is a really cool thing. Another one up there. And then the second pattern is just going to have, I just really want to get one of those. Someday I'll be able to get one of those, become a Patreon supporter and make it possible like it made it possible for me to get this. Oop! Little spoiler for the end of the video. Anyway, so this is a sweet pattern. I just have nothing really bad to say about it, except that I don't know if it'll work up here, but we'll find a time to do that test and see for sure. But it's very aesthetically pleasing. It's kind of so ugly that it looks good, in my opinion. And yeah, it does resemble to the untrained eye .44, and again, that's why it's been used in film quite a bit as SS camouflage for films that had a budget. All right, anyway, there we go. The jacket itself, parka, it's got a hood on it right there. It's got two breast pockets, two hip pockets, and it's a button closure. There are some markings on there, but that's really not important. It's just a typical Austrian markings, and I think the date is 1961 on this. But anyway, yeah, we'll get back to the regular part of the video and then we'll wrap her up. All right, so now that we've taken a little bit of a closer look, we'll just kind of go over that, yeah, after the 1970s, this really wasn't worn. I don't know of any other country that used this pattern. It's a pretty unique one, and I know a lot of these leftover parkas and a lot of the leftover uniforms were used in the film industry as World War II SS uniforms because there's a lack of those, and that was before a lot of companies were reproducing Dot 44. So this was commonly used, like in the Dirty Dozen. I forgot which exactly the title it was, like The Next Mission or something like that. They definitely wore these and they were posing as SS soldiers, so that was a pretty interesting use in film. But yeah, I mean, it seems like it would be effective in some regions. I don't think it would be that effective, especially up here in the northern Midwest in the summertime. Perhaps in the fall or maybe the springtime, but I don't know how it worked in Austria. I've seen photographs and it doesn't seem like it works spectacularly well, which is probably why they just went back to olive drab. But who knows? That's just my opinion. That's not a fact. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of weird pieces of equipment like this parka and other things. I think there were pieces of equipment that were made, like pouches and stuff, that were made in this pattern as well. So this was worn from 1957 through about 1976. So we're going to go with about 20 years this was worn. And yeah, so that's really all I've got on this pattern. This is a pretty cool one. It's really hard to find in the United States now. It's really hard to find. When I say that, I'm not saying that lightly. So I managed to get one of these bad boys in my size, and I'm looking for a pair of pants. I actually have a helmet cover too. That was a field-made one. So eventually I want to do a camouflage test and see where this can work and how it works, because it'd be really cool. And other than that, it's just a really cool pattern that I'm pretty glad to have in the collection. This one's going to stay in the collection because of how hard they are to get, etc., etc. So if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. I probably did. I'm not an expert. This is more of just for a basic recognition, as I said at the beginning of the video. But now you know, and you might not have known that there was 2 variations of this, and this is the first one. So hopefully I helped you learn something. If you did like this video and you like the rest of my videos and you want to become a sponsor of my channel, you can do that by becoming a Patreon supporter or a channel member. So you can either click the link in the description for Patreon or hit the join button below. And if you do $5 a month or more on either support platform, you get access to my Discord server, which is really fun. There's a lot of people on there. It's a great time. I'm learning a lot on there, and hopefully other people are too. It's a really, really interactive experience. I really like being on there. So there's some really, really cool patrons that allow me to do really cool content that I've always wanted to do, but never could really afford just funding straight out of pocket. So crowdfunding really helps me be able to offset. I used crowdfunding to purchase this thing, which was very expensive. It was almost $200 to find one in my size. But because of crowdfunding, now I was able to make this video on there, and hopefully someday able to find a pair of pants in size extra fat to do a camouflage test video. Now, funding out of pocket, I don't have the expendable income as much as you would think to just get random $200 jackets to make a 10-minute camouflage video on, and possibly a 20-minute camouflage test video. But with crowdfunding, it makes it possible. So that's why, and we also do ballistic tests and things like that that cost money. I don't need to talk about it anymore. If you cannot support the channel financially and you want to still support my work, you can easily do that by hitting the like button on this video and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Throw in a comment down in there telling me what you think, or if you've got any questions, which I'll try to answer, but I'm not an expert. And also sharing this video out if you thought it was interesting and you know fellow camouflage junkies like myself and probably you. Go ahead and share this video out and see if we can get anything going for discussion in the comments, because I'm sure I missed something, but again, the basic overview. Anyway, I love history. I love doing all this stuff, as you can tell, and this is a really sweet pattern that's really one of the harder ones to find. Also, just a little caveat, if you don't want to support my work and you think my work is atrocious, I hate to break it to you, but you already have supported me by watching this video, so I appreciate that. Thank you for watching, everybody, again, and we'll see you on the next episode of Camouflage of the World.